Hello and welcome to Space City Football. I'm LC. Look, the only word to describe what I just witnessed from the Houston Dynamo is abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Back to front. Um, we played the worst football we've played definitely since the restart, probably even before that. I mean, on a night where we should have expected to win, and let me be clear on that. A few weeks ago, I said we needed at least 7 points from our last 3 games in September. That's Minnesota, Chicago, and then we have Nashville coming up. Minnesota is a match we should have won. We tied that game 2-2. I said Chicago is not a good team, but they're not a side to take lightly. 14th in the Eastern Conference, last place, 9 points in 12 matches. But if we could not fix our organizational issues on the pitch, specifically in defense, it could be a very dangerous side for us. And now we've given up 4 goals to arguably the worst team in the league. And I mean, what an utter embarrassment. First off, 3 games in a row. We've gone with Struna, Figueroa, and Ludquist in the back. Same defensive problems. It's disorganized. It's slow. It's wide open. And we've continued to get punished for it. And Tab Ramos, what are you doing, mate? What in the hell are you actually doing? Because 3 games in a row with the same 3 defenders. We've rotated the right back twice now, but we won't rotate the 2 center backs that have now allowed 8 goals in 3 matches. And I mean, to be frank with you, like, why is Figueroa still in the game after that second goal? For me, Figueroa is the biggest. He is the biggest liability for us at the back right now. As a center back, first of all, a couple weeks ago we have him playing as a fullback on the left side. We have Ludquist playing at the center back role. We swapped them against Colorado. Then we go into Minnesota, and now we're playing. Figueroa is now drifting into the midfield, so we're basically playing a 3-back. He cost us 2 goals there. He finally drops back. We're able to come back and score 2 goals. And tonight, I mean, it's the same old thing. He's drifting into the midfield. He's drifting wide. He's disconnected from Struna. He's disconnected from the back 4. And, I mean, it utterly cost us. So we're going to get into it tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of things because, again, there's a lot of news that come out in the last couple of days about our schedule, about our transfers. We're going to have to go through this game because trust me, those were not the only mistakes that we made. Again, Tab is not to blame for everything, but he's an extremely huge part of it. I mean, at this point, we can only look forward because, I mean, we absolutely have to right now. So if you're just joining us, welcome to Space City Football. I'm LC. Please go ahead, give a like to the video, subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to follow us on Twitter, our Twitter handle is in the description down at the bottom. So please jump on that. And the reason that we go with the Twitter page, as I've said before, is it is the absolute fastest way that football news is spread these days. So anytime that something happens, before I can get it to a video on here, it's on there first. Always on there, usually on there first. Unless it just happens when I'm either giving a video or right before I give a video. But if I can, it'll be here first. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be there first. All right. So Chicago FC. First things first. A lot of complaints about our clustered schedule. It's restart. COVID is changed the structure of the league entirely. A lot of games close together. So we're like, oh, are we fatigued or is this too close back to back? It's so much travel. We landed in Chicago this morning. Chicago, again, arguably worst team in the league at 14th place before this game starts. Now they're going up to at least 12th, if not 11th. they were able, with a clustered schedule, because it's not like theirs is any less clustered than ours, they were able, with a clustered schedule, to make significant changes, especially in their midfield, to counter the Houston Dynamo's fast counterattack and our possessive midfield. They knew that between Memo, Vera, and Serin in the midfield, and Quintero, usually it's Manotes, it was Ramirez starting for us tonight, and we had Nick Hansen starting. They know that between those 6 players, our counterattack and our forward ball movement is extremely deadly. And they said, we are not going to take this lying down. We're going to make the proper changes that we need to make sure that we are organized enough to keep the ball and prevent them from moving forward. They absolutely shut down our attack tonight. We went from having 16, 17 chances a game to 7 in this game, and only, was it, I wanted to say 2, but it wasn't. 1 shot on goal. 1 shot on target all night out of 7, cut drastically from our last few games. Possession was absolutely abysmal. Chicago Fire held the majority of the possession for the game. And because they shut it down so hard, I mean, you had their 19-year-old designated player taking shots from midfield in the first half because they're up 3-0. Absolutely embarrassing. At no point in time should another team feel like they should be able to take shots from beyond the midfield line on us just because. Nah, we're winning. Doesn't matter if we have possession or not. Knock it long, see what happens. Absolutely shocking from us. But again, I put this back on Tab Ramos because as soon as we go down 2-0, that early in the first half, something like 20 minutes, I have the numbers in front of me. I'll tell you exactly when that goal was scored, that second goal. 13 minutes. Sorry. I keep, no. 13 minutes? When did that second goal go in? 15, 23. Yeah, so 20 minutes. So I was right. So 20 minutes, 2 goals in the back of the net. Defense is completely disorganized. At that point, as a coach, you have to say, this is not working out for us. All right? You have multiple defenders on the bench. Yes, you know, Valentin's played 2 games for us already. Understood. Fuenamayor is on the bench. Cabrera is on the bench. You have to pull the trigger on that. Because that's where we've been hurting the most. And we've been hurting the most there for the last 3 games. 4 games if you count Colorado. I do. So we make no changes. We go into the locker room. Something is said. God knows what, because it wasn't a stirring speech or anything, because we come out, we made 3 changes at the half. We took out Hansen, absolutely unnecessary. We took out Rodriguez, absolutely unnecessary. Memo is the only one holding any possession for you in the first half, and I mean, we're not creating anything, so there's no reason to take Hansen out necessarily, especially because Lassiter has not created anything for you. He's young, he's fast, he's a bit creative. He's not as technical as the ball as Elise was, but face the facts, Elise is gone. Lassiter's not creating anything for us. When he came on, he continued not to not create anything for us. He was dead weight. You should have left Hansen on because you have to make defensive changes, and you didn't. I don't get it. And I place this loss squarely at the foot of Tab right now. So sub out Hansen, doesn't make sense. Sub out Rodriguez, doesn't make sense. And then we subbed out Vera. Vera, for me, in the last few games, I don't really care if you leave him in or out because he has been a liability for us, mostly by picking up yellow cards and not tracking back when he probably should. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there. Serin, who got taken out later in the game, is the only midfielder that was covering back into your back 4 because they were so spread out and they needed the help. So spread out. And look at it this way, right? We play a 4-3-3, very open, very attacking style of football. When we have possession of the ball, we expect our fullbacks kick out wide. Our wingers, they kick out wide. We spread the field as much as we possibly can, and that allows us to move the ball, keep possession. Makes sense, right? Many teams do it. It's been a staple of European football for a long time. It's been a staple of Latin football for a long time. This is exactly what we expect, how we expect us to play. That's fine. That's 100% fine. However, once you lose the ball, once you lose possession, you have to make the transition from attack to defense, and it has to happen rapidly. You have to drop, you have to get compact, you have to tuck in, and you have to cover the goal. If you don't have the legs to do that, if you're too exhausted, the endurance is gone, you've played 3 games, good on you. Thanks for the 3 games. Have a seat. Have a seat. 100% it's on the coach to be like, I've played the same players this many minutes in the last couple of weeks. They need rest. They need to sit. And you didn't do that. You went ahead and started them anyway. If they're smart, they'll go, hey coach, for the love of God, take me out. It takes a big man. It takes a big footballer to say, I'm not match fit. It's probably best if I don't play. Footballers want minutes. I get it. And that's why you can't expect them necessarily to make that call. It falls on the head coach, and Tab didn't make that change. And we suffered for it, and we've been suffering for it. And it's exactly why we suffered against Minnesota. That is a game that we proved that we could win. 2 goals and a botched penalty that should have put us ahead, but it didn't. We botched it. Okay, forget about it. 2 goals you don't give up if you rotate your defense. I don't know if it's if you don't trust them enough. I don't know if you're looking to rotate your forwards more because they get fatigued in game as opposed to a collection of games. But what you definitely don't do is sit there, watch 2 goals go in, and go, this is fine. It makes 0 sense to me. I put this squarely on Tab. And again, I coach football myself, at the youth level. At the end of the day, it's the players on the pitch. I get that. You can't always blame the coach because he's not playing, but coaches have to be able to make decisions. They have to be able to pull the plug. They have to be able to flip the switch, and that didn't happen. And we suffered for it. Looking at the rest of the team, first off, Quintero, one of the worst matches I've seen him play against Minnesota last time out. He bottles the penalty. He loses tons of balls at the top of the 18. We have this trend that we do where Quintero, when he's playing on the wing, he tucks in to the top of the 18, right in the midfield, back to goal. And we like to force balls into his feet there. It doesn't matter if he's got 1 defender on him or, like we saw tonight, more than once, 3 defenders absolutely surrounding him because he's at the top of the box in an extremely dangerous position. And we for some reason, continue to force balls to his feet at the top of the box, and he loses it every time before he even gets a chance to turn around and face up. He did it tonight. He did it against Minnesota. Quintero is not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, he's one of our, he's been one of our top goal scorers. He's created many assists for us. This is not at all a critique of him as a footballer, but it's just his performance in the last couple of matches. He is not creating scoring chances for us, except in the first 10 minutes or so when he had 2 shots on goal, and they were decent shots. Saved by the keeper both times, but they were fairly decent. All right. Maybe he gets in a better position. Maybe he lays it off to someone who's a little bit more open, but they weren't terrible. Rest of the 80 minutes of the game creates absolutely nothing for us going forward. I believe he played extremely selfish. I believe he kept the ball at his feet way too long, and I believe that because he refused to give it up, we forced turnovers. They hit us in the counter, and if I have to point at the top 3 players and say this is where the problem is, it's at Quintero. All right, Tonight, the night against Minnesota, Quintero has been letting us down. And maybe you just bench him for a game. Not because he's bad, not because we don't need him, but just maybe it's, hey, man, I don't know where your head's at, but you need to figure it out. You need to get back on the training ground. Let's give you a rest. Let's give you some time to sort it out. And then, moving forward, we bring you back in and you turn it around for us. I mean, it's not out of the question to sit a footballer who's having a run of bad matches, no matter how important he is. Because again, there's almost no player anywhere that can play every single game for a club. It just doesn't happen unless you're Messi, and even Messi takes breaks. Even Ronaldo takes breaks. It's just unrealistic to ask these players to week in, week out, sometimes twice a week, go in and play a full 90 minutes. It doesn't make sense to me. We eventually did take him out for Manotas, but way too little, way too late, and it was just at that point, why bother? Hansen, again, extremely excited to see him in the starting lineup. Sad he didn't last there. I don't know why we took him out at halftime. Probably should have left him in. Ramirez, man, what do I say about this guy other than what position does this guy play? Because we've now seen him in several different positions on the field in several different games. And I mean, look, starting him in at the top, maybe you want to give Manotas that break. He's also been playing a few games for us. Maybe you give him that break, but Ramirez, I don't know. I don't think that was necessarily the right choice because, again, 7 shots, 1 on target. He doesn't create anything for us. And it just goes to prove that point that Elise losing that player is just right now absolutely devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And by no means is Elise, he's not the greatest player in the MLS. He's not even the greatest player the Dynamo have ever had, but he is such a presence on the field. He was so creative for us. And again, extremely pacey for us that he became such a dynamic player going forward in opening space. We needed a player who can open space on the wing, draw defenders, get them out of the midfield. He's creative enough and fast enough to take those defenders then on 1-versus-1, get into a position to lay it off and either have an assist or even take on another player and score a goal. You have to have someone whose presence is that threatening. You have to have someone who, when defenses see him, they go, that's the guy. That's the guy we got to watch out for. Because if it's not, I mean, we saw it tonight. The defense is properly organized because they don't have to worry whether you pass the ball left or right. They know we're gonna chill here. Whatever they do, they're probably gonna try to force it through the middle, and it's not gonna work. And it didn't. And again, news is coming out every day now, it seems. We didn't hear anything about really the Elise transfer before it happened. Now that it has happened, we're hearing, he went for a minimal fee. It was it was getting near the end of his contract, or it wasn't enough for us to sign a player of similar caliber. Now we've been talking about the possibility of Bahamic from Instituto in Argentina coming for a similar fee, about 1.2 million. But now we're trying to have add-ons, or we're trying to make the 1.2 million in installments rather than paying it up front. And basically what it all boils down to is we have no more trust in our forward line. We have no organization in our defensive line. And those players like Memo in the midfield, Memo and Serin and to a lesser extent, Vera. I'm going to hate on him just because, I mean, he's been upsetting me for the last few games. And the only reason, you know, sorry, people are texting me about this stream, and it's throwing me off. Bottom line, we're a mess right now. You know, our midfield, last couple of games, has been able to hold possession for us. However, we haven't been able to open it up the way we like to going forward. And we, again, like to play fast, forward-thinking, attacking football. But it's not happening because we're not creative enough in the wings. We're not dynamic enough at the number 9. And, you know, we have to worry about if we lose the ball, we are sprinting back because our defense, for some reason, cannot make that transition, close down, and prevent, you know, shots. I'm just seeing right now that my live chat has disconnected for some reason, and I'm going to see if I can get it reconnected. Don't know why that happened. It says disconnected, reconnected, and disconnected again. Let's see. Try to throw out a hey or something in the live chat. Let me know if it's working. Doesn't seem to be. If it doesn't, that would be really sad for me. Because I do want you guys to, again, like I always say, I want you guys to be able to chime in. I want your thoughts and opinions. But if I can't do that, that is bad for me. Let's see. Yep, sorry, don't know what that's about. See if I can get it figured out, but if I can't, you know, we'll wrap up this video here in a minute, and then what I'll ask you to do is instead comment on the video if you want to hear, if there's anything that I miss or any points that you want to make, anything you want to ask, anything you want to know, throw it in the comments. I'll try to jump on tomorrow. Yeah, I'm being told that people are sending messages, but I'm not able to see it. The mods are gone riot. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so do that. If there's anything I missed, anything you want to know, throw it in the comments at the end of the video. I'll make a note of it. I'll answer your questions, and I'll probably jump on tomorrow and see if we can't do it again. Again, like I've said, this is a bit of a learning curve for me. I'm learning a lot about YouTube Studio and YouTube Live and these kinds of things. So when this kind of thing happens, it sucks, but you know, we have to work with it. Last thing I want to talk about, whoever is in charge of the Houston Dynamo Twitter, I have a huge bone to pick with you. I had to turn off the notifications that I get for the Houston Dynamo Twitter. I won't unlike or unfollow the page because, I mean, there's no reason for that. But the comments that were being made during the game pissed me off enough to the point where I couldn't see that crap anymore. The comments like people who know me know how I feel about VAR. I think VAR is terrible. I think it's stupid. I think it slows down the game. I think it ruins the game to a certain extent, whether it goes my way or not. Tonight, we get saved from 2 goals from the VAR. As soon as we get saved from those 2 goals, someone, I don't know who's in charge of it. I get it. They were trying to make a joke, but they get on there and they say, thank you at MLS VAR, or thank you for saving us at MLS VAR. And they did it twice. Thanks again at MLS VAR. Then they tweeted, oh, thank you, the post, because one of Chicago's shots hit the goal post. That is extremely, extremely embarrassing if you're a player on the team or if you're a fan of the club. And let me tell you why. A, we do not depend on VAR or the goalpost to save games for us. B, absolutely sends the wrong message. There's a disunity in that. What you're basically saying is that, man, we're playing so bad, I'm gonna crack jokes about it. And man, as a fan, man, I'm gutted. Like, I feel that in my stomach. I look at that, I'm like, oof. We can get on here and we can analyze and we can talk about where we need to be better. We can talk about what went wrong. That's one thing. And we can talk about our disappointments, and I get that. And I'm not saying that, the Houston Dynamo as an organization doesn't get to do that. They're the number one people that get to do that. But to crack jokes like that and put it on your Twitter, I was a little bit upset about it. And I don't know if anybody else was. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a snowflake about it. I don't think I am. But that's just, it was a bit distasteful for me. I didn't like that. But yeah, again, you're talking, and again, another reason why I point that out is because you're talking about a rebrand. You're talking about this disconnect that you have with Houstonians, and why you're not bringing in people to the club, which I've heard a lot of good ideas over the last few days from different coaches, players, parents of young players, people that are very excited about the prospect of a rebrand. But when you go and do that, man, I see where the disconnect is. I can see how that might turn someone off mentally. You know what I mean? I don't know. I didn't like that. I thought it was a bit in poor taste. But anyway, moving on. Biggest news that came out yesterday was the release of basically the next phase of our games, or basically what is going to be the rest of our games. We have Nashville at the end of the month. I've already said that. It's a game where, at this point, Jesus, I pray to God that we win, because like again, I said, we needed 7 points from the last 3 games of this month. The reason I said that is because you were already in a playoff position. You drop the points against Minnesota. You only get 1 point instead of 3, and you're no longer in a playoff position. You drop to 10th. Then come the game against Chicago, and you lose. So you needed at least 7 points from these 3 games. Now you're going to be lucky if you get 4. Hell, you're going to be lucky if you get 2. Again, Nashville, not a particularly strong side, but I mean, the way that we've been making a run of it lately, they're 10th in the East, we're 10th in the West. It's a 50-50. You got to win this next game coming up. They're a new club. They're young. Their players are young. There's an up and down to it. It could go really either way, and you really, really have to push for 3 points. Going into October, you got Sporting KC. Not doing so well at the moment. They beat Minnesota, I think, 1-0. They lost to us. They lost another match. I can't remember the other match, but basically in their last 3 games, their last 4 games, I think they only have maybe 1 win, maybe 2. Then you go into Dallas. They come here. We just lost to Dallas. That was... don't even want to get into that. You got Dallas right after that. And again, these games are back-to-back. Between Sporting and Dallas is 4 days. Then you turn around, you play Miami 3 days after that. Then you turn around and you play Nashville 4 days after that. And you play Minnesota 4 days after that. So again, we cannot complain about a clustered schedule, because we know now it's back-to-back-to-back-to-back. And that's where it is becoming on Tab and the rest of the staff to look at the entire roster and go, right, this is where we're lacking. This is where, this is who's played the most minutes. This is who, this is who needs a rest. And you figure out, you have to, at this point, it's about moving chess pieces. Players moving forward will play out of position. It's going to happen. We're going to have to fill gaps. And it's going to be uncomfortable for some players. But you mean, this is how you tackle this type of problem. It's not normal football. It's not normal MLS. It is a complete restructure of how the schedule is supposed to be played, and we can complain about it all we want, or we can deal with it. Wilfred Zaibo is out with a pulled hamstring. I doubt he'll be back for Nashville. I'd like to see him back for Dallas, ideally. So you have that to look forward to. But again, you have to get Cabrera in. You have to get some of these defenders rotated, because at the end of the day, that is where we're crashing the most. Manotes is one of our oldest players. Can't keep him at the number 9 every single game going forward. I don't know if Christian Ramirez is the guy. I don't know. Maybe you move Lassiter around. Maybe you put Hansen back in and let him try that number 9 spot. You have to sit Quintero, so you can't rely on him either. It's going to be very volatile going forward. It's going to be messy, but it's not like it's impossible. It's not like we can't take points away from these games. It's going to be a lot of rest needed. There's going to be a lot of travel, and you manage it and you deal with it, because this is how football is played at any level. Doesn't matter what level you're at. We look at some of our youngest players, and I'm talking about like children. You look at some of our youngest players, and we tell them to go out and play 2 tournaments in a weekend and have these quick turnarounds. Some kids play 2-3 teams. I don't think it's a good idea, but they do. And they make it work. Every coach at every level has to make some kind of decisions about how to rotate their players. And the last 4 games now, kind of 5, because I know Struna has played at least 5 games in a row. That rotation is not happening, and it's concerning. It's absolutely concerning to see. Guys, again, sorry about the chat. But I've been having technical issues all day. You saw I was trying to come on at 5 o'clock. That didn't happen. I was trying to come on again right before the match started so we can go over the lineup, because I was actually very excited about it. Didn't get to do that. Learning process. We're figuring it out. But every day is a new day, and I like to think it's getting better. I've gotten some of your comments, some of your feedback back. I think it's been extremely positive. Some people have, there's been great stuff. There's been some criticisms. I love to hear from you guys, and I want to hear from you guys more. So on that note, like the video, subscribe if you have not already, share Space City Football with your friends. And since the live chat for some reason went down on this video, please leave a comment, ask your questions, make your comments. Let me know what you thought about tonight, and I'll try to get on. Tomorrow should be very easy for me to get on, do another video, and I'll react to your comments, just to make sure that you guys are always part of the conversation, because that, for me, is probably the most important function of this entire channel. So definitely let me know what you think. Follow us on Twitter, handles in the description. And yeah, Dale Dynamo. Bad game. Sucks, but vamos.